I've caught you. I've
You
caught
caught
you,
me.
Joel. You've talked
You
yourself
have.
into a trap on
Oh
Teoscar
no.
Hernandez.
So you've got me. Let's say you've got me there.
I got you there. Look at
You
us.
got
Look
me
at
there.
us. We're arguing and we're coming to middle grounds. Patreon.com/the Walk Off Podcast. $4 a month gets you in there. All right. Welcome to February 1st. We made it through January. I was saying to Craig on Monday, I understand now why Scott decided to get married in January. This is the slowest month of the year for baseball. He's left me with all the show notes to do. There's not a lot to talk about. We do have some news finally, though. Blue Jays have added relief pitcher, multi-role potential guy in Chad Green. So we'll talk that today. Welcome to the show. Hey, Kami. Devil's Advocate Wednesday, we're going to call this. The Dark Side Wednesdays. I don't know what we're going to call this. We got to come up with something for it, but we're going to have some fun discussions. So we're going to talk Chad Green, that edition there, and the follow-up from that, how he fits with the Jays. I guess let's talk realistic expectations for Chad Green. We're going to give a quick tip of the cap to Taylor Saucedo, friend of the show, former Blue Jay. Joined the Mets this offseason, but now is on his way to Seattle. So it's a homecoming of sorts for Taylor from Seattle. Good old boy. So we'll talk with Taylor there. Or we'll talk about Taylor there for a second. Then we're going to talk batting order in 2023. You had some interesting ideas on, I guess, some drastic changes to the way our batting order would be potentially composed, and some good thoughts behind that. So we'll talk that. We'll talk some new camera technology. This is something we teased last week and then ran out of time on. But this is the, I guess, HD micro cameras that F1 is using on all their drivers for helmet cam visualizations in the 2023 season, and how things like that could be implemented in baseball. Then we're going to talk the home run derby a little bit more. We're going to speculate on some tweaks to how to potentially improve that and the viewer experience there. And then we're going to end on the idea of, I have in my show notes here, jerks and profar, but I think we're going to change that to 8-tool player. We're going to talk 8-tool players and the idea that everybody's heard the term 5-tool player, but we're going to talk 8-tool player and why some of these extra 3 tools maybe need to start being considered a little bit more heavily. So, all right. Chad Green to the Blue Jays on a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal. No, it was a 4-year deal. Wait,
2-year deal, 2-team options.
3-year deal.
What 2-year deal with 2-team options.
So there's an opt-out after this season for the Jays. They're committed to him?
Yeah, so this season and next season, we have him on contract for 2 years. So this year and next year, we have him. Then we follow that with 2 team options.
Okay, so my understanding is potentially 4 years.
Yes.
After this season, the Jays have an option to pick up all 3 years. They have to commit to 3. So at the end of this ball season, they say, Kate, here's $27 million for the next 3 years. We're good. If they decline that, Chad Green then has a single season player option where he can go, maybe he was slower to come back from Tommy John. Maybe he doesn't get in. Maybe he doesn't contribute right away. So he has some protection there. He could say, nope, I have a player option that he can invoke, say, give me one more season that gets him through 2024 and then free agency. If he turns that down, then we have then the team has a 2-year player or a 2-year team option.
Yes.
So, and that would take him through the 2025 season. So it wouldn't be, we wouldn't have a shot at the 3-year option, but we can, I guess, he could be with us for 1 to 4 years, and who knows how it's going to play out. Hopefully it's 4. I mean, if he's playing well, we're going to keep him for 4.
I kind of like the option construction there because Tommy John it's something that if you look at it, like, weirdly enough, I have some experience in this topic because I know Tommy John. I talked to him thoroughly about this. I wrote a screenplay about this. So it's just like when it comes to certain topics, I know Tommy John. It can be anywhere from a year to 2 years. It usually sits around 16, 17 months to fully recover from it. That first year back is very tentative usually for the pitcher. They're not going out there and trying to hit their all-time velo max in that first comeback year.
Trying to avoid setbacks.
Yeah, Noah Syndergaard, known for throwing 100, was throwing 94 in his comeback year. Ohtani hit 101 in his second year back, right? Tommy John himself had about a 3.60 ERA in his comeback year, and then he dropped it to 2.70. So there's usually that year of getting your, feet wet again and rebuilding all of those muscles from scratch because your arm isn't doing anything for a long period of time. So it's about getting all of that built back up. And then once you do, you very well have the potential to throw better than you ever have. It's still, Major League Baseball, we will draft players who we know are going to get Tommy John. It's gotten to that point of trust in the surgery, but there are situations out there. Remember, like Johnny Venters, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He had the surgery 3 times. So it sits roughly at about 80 to 90% in the success rate. But that's still a slight gamble on that 10%. Not everybody comes back perfect. We have a feeling that they do. Justin Verlander just came back better than ever, won a Cy Young after his Tommy John, right?
Most valuable player.
Yes, exactly. Most valuable. Yeah. Yeah. That was great. But I think we have the idea that it is a perfect surgery and they come back perfect every single time. But there is that little slight 10, 15% chance that there is a setback. They potentially need a second surgery. So that being said, Chad Green is one of the 7 best relievers in baseball over the last decade, probably 7 years with the Yankees. So he comes back being Chad Green, and that is an incredible pickup. That is an absolutely amazing back-end pickup for this bullpen, especially if you have the ability to lock him up for those remaining 3 years after.
Some points of clarification with Chad Green. He'll be 32 years old this year.
Mm-hmm.
Made his MLB debut with the Tigers in 2013. So that's 10 years in the league, like you said. Failed starter. So he was a starting pitcher. Went to the bullpen in New York, and that's where he really found success. Numbers as a starter, not spectacular. But again, I don't mean that as a dig at him. This is a very common career path for relief pitchers. Mm-hmm. The 2017 season, the numbers that I'm looking at in New York are just absurd. So 69 innings pitched over 40 games out of the bullpen for the Yankees with a 1.83 ERA and a whip of .739, which is...
Yeah, and his ceiling is that. His floor is probably like a 3.20 ERA, whip about $1.10. Yeah. Still giving you 60, 65 really, really good innings. And a really he can get hit, but he's coming at hitters and he throws strikes. And I think that's kind of everything that you want. It's just, if there's one issue, it's coming in August, hopefully, or next season, right? It's like, it's not here today. It's here tomorrow. So,
right. So here's what I like about the trade, or not the trade, the signing. I like that. I mean, would it be nice to have Chad Green all season long? Yeah, you betcha. Would it be nice to have a healthy mid-season form Ryu all season long? Yeah, you betcha. We're not going to get these guys until maybe August.
Yeah.
Right? Like, again, that's if everything goes well.
Yeah.
We get some productivity out of them in August. These are like, if we look at it silver lining glass half full, these are trade deadline moves that don't cost us anything. Right? This is adding a starting pitcher in August without having to give anything up. This is
Oh yeah,
adding
no,
a relief bullpen arm, an Adam Simber, a Trevor Richards, a Chad Green,
yeah.
mid-August, where we're just adding to a, probably worn out bullpen and not having to give anything up, which again leaves us more opportunity to give stuff up for a different reason, right? So I love that in that regard.
I to make a weird comparison to Anthopoulos and what he did in his World Series run was he acquired players that were injured, knowing that his team would be able to weather the storm to the playoffs when that person comes back and becomes an element that puts them over the top to be that World Series contender, right? So I we've seen it work recently to incredible success. And like I said, it's just the only negative drawback is like there's like an Andrew Chafin out there. There's a few other names out there that you're saying it would be, it's great to get that guy in August, but if we have 4 bad months where we needed somebody, we have to get there, right?
Totally.
And I do
Can't put
have
the cart before the
confidence that
horse. I get that.
yeah, I do have confidence that this team will get to the point this season where Chad Green is then a really valuable piece, right?
Do you think that like expanded playoffs has a role in this approach to building a team that like where you look at what the Phillies did and the run they went on last year, where like literally all you got to do is sneak in and then anything can happen, right? So like there is maybe more of a willingness to take a risk on a guy like this, where it's like, all right, we still need to get there, but like, man, if we can just get there and then add a guy who's joining us in September and just really put us over the top. Right. Whereas like before, if there wasn't expanded playoffs, it's like, no, we need to just do everything we can to even get there.
The Phillies were mocked so much last year for their concept of like, we don't care about balls dropping in. We're just going to smash more, and they got really mocked. That was like literally, you don't go to that level of no defense. It's like you bring Kyle Schwarber, and you don't have Schwarber and Castellanos. That's embarrassing. That's 2 guys that you're trying to cover for, but you're like, oh, let's have them both in. And so they went for their identity. There's so many different ways to win in the game of baseball. Cleveland Guardians, sorry, that's still a lingering effect on me. Right. Guardians took that step mid-season, knowing that the balls kind of weren't flying out of the ballpark. And you see that slap approach that Francona kind of put on that Cleveland Guardians team. And they base hit their way to a division and to playoff success. So it's just like, yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's an interest. Every year there's so many different things that are being applied to the game, and you just have no idea how it's going to pan, especially this year, right? So many changes being put on the game and the stadium. Then we're applying the dimensional changes as well, right? So many factors that are all coming in, and we just have no idea what's going to happen.
How many times do you think, if that series between the Astros and the Phillies, they play 10 times, how many times did the Phillies win that series?
Oh, I don't think too many. Like I think when you get to that matchup against Houston is like, don't get me wrong, you can miracle your way to a World Series and have a team that doesn't, like the Braves, 88 win World Series. Nationals were like a 1% chance going into June that year to win the World Series. You can miracle a World Series. You absolutely can. But Houston, when you're going up against Houston, that just really seems like proper construction on all levels, right? Like defense where you need it, youth and where you need it, the batting, the pitching, the bullpen. It's like there's going to be a team. The expectations have been on the Dodgers for the last 5 years. This year, they took kind of a little step back for the first time in recorded, last 10 years of the Dodgers. Usually they're always going forward. But you have that expectation of that perfectly built ball club that has it in all levels, just beating that fluke team. But you can miracle a World Series, right?
See, I'd put the number at like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I'm
2 or 3 out of 10.
Yeah. I think Houston takes it about that as well.
And I think that's where you mentioned the Braves, right? And the run they went on in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like 2 out of 3 for the Braves. Like it went their way.
Yeah, that was a little different. Like Verlander was injured that year. Um, they didn't have Pena. No, did they? They had Correa.
But this is what I mean. Like this is where you just swap those two teams. You swap the Phillies and the Braves. It could be the same outcome, right? Like that might
Yeah,
be what the factor needed to have been for the Phillies to have won 2 out
that's
of
true.
3
That's true.
was
Yeah,
just
and it
they run into a weakened version of them, right? So that for me is where I'm like Alex Anthopoulos, great GM, but also he has a ring, but he did it on like everything just kind of worked out, right? So like there's a little bit of luck in there when he's a 2 to 3 out of 10 opportunity to win a World Series and it just went his way and he got it. So I just want to
since leaving the Jays, he does have 7 divisions in a row. So that's not like he's putting his chances out there to go
That's
2 out
fair.
of 3 in the World Series quite often. So
All right, that's valid. That's valid. All right, I can't argue with that. I can't argue with banners in the rafters. Okay, last thing I want to touch on with Chad Green here. Again, positive takeaway for me on this, if I can expand on this outside of Chad Green, is the creative roster or the creative contract with the options.
yeah.
I don't necessarily think this is how a contract with Vladdy looks or with Bo looks, but what I do like is that this is undeniable proof that the front office is trying to think outside the box.
I like that.
So if
I'll
there's
go
a
there.
silver lining we can take away, it is that they're at least, maybe it's not Ross Atkins, maybe he's got a guy underneath him who's the creative contract guy.
Yeah.
But we've got someone in-house who is willing to go, hey, here's an option. Here's, like 4 options in one contract where one team turns down, the other one can enact it. And then if you don't, there's another step the following. Like, this is a complicated contract. And that might be what it takes to get a Bo or
I'm
Vladdy
down.
locked up, where it's like, hey, let's give you some security short term, but we're going to need something back in the long term. If you turn it down, this gets enacted. Like, a lot of moving parts to this pretty simple, like what should have been a simple contract for Chad Green. So
Yeah.
if they're able to do it, I'm very optimistic that they're at least willing and capable to think outside the box to get something done. And I think that is a positive step in the right direction to locking up either of them long term.
Sure. I've been like hyper negative on them with Bo, Vladdy, and Manoah, right? But like to me, like if you look at it as a hockey standpoint, that restricted free agent contract that you get after about 3 years of having that like young talented player, and you're doing that bridge contract, right? Like if we can't lock up Manoah, Vladdy, Bo because they want to hit free agency before 29, right? If you hit it before 20, if you hit it 28, 29, you're able to go for 12 years. You're able to,
Right.
nibble at 300,
Mm-hmm.
in Vladdy's case, 400. And I feel like if we do some sort of like a deal with Bo or Vladdy where we're occupying those final arbitration years, we're paying them good money there, and we're paying them 5 years with opt-outs at 28, 29. You give them the control. You want to stay
Mm-hmm.
here, the money is there on the table. Like Arenado is a good example of a guy who
Right.
took the
He
remaining
opted in.
years
He
on his
opted in,
yeah,
took
exactly, right.
less money in his bank account, but
Did not need to do that, but at the end of the day, he loved St. Louis. He knew where he had come from. He didn't want to risk going to another franchise and not having that sensation of
mm-hmm.
the team being, completely behind him. So if we're doing those type of deals, like, because I'm going to be really heartbroken if we see them walk away in 2026, right? Like
Yeah.
if that happens, that's heartbreaking. But if you get me 2 or 3 more years with the potential of more, then those kind of bridge contracts or with some options on the back end, opt-outs, those are interesting, and I like that idea a lot. And like you said, they just proved that those moves are in their back pocket. So
It's very cool. It's cool. It's cool to see a skill, and this is the new creative accounting that is the new wave of baseball, right? So it is something to be optimistic about.
Yeah.
All right, let's pivot then from there. Taylor Sacedo, friend of the show, former Blue Jay. Congratulations on heading to Seattle, buddy.
Yeah.
Very exciting news. Left the Jays this offseason, joined the Mets very briefly. I don't think ever made it to spring training or threw a single pitch in a facility for the Mets, and is now heading to Seattle. From Seattle, just a round of applause for Taylor. Couldn't be happier for the guy. Great kid.
I got to
Happy
meet him on the
see him on the
show as
West
well.
Coast. Yeah, so he's been on Long Toss a few times. We've had multiple interviews with him. We actually have an interview that we recorded last week that's going to feel real outdated now as we release it this Saturday, because he does talk about the Mets a little bit. So maybe we'll just cut that part of the interview out. But very happy for Taylor to be back in Seattle, hometown.
He's got some friends.
He's got some friends out there. He's got Teo.
Teammates.
He's got
Ray.
I think Baraki's still with the Mariners. So yeah, some familiar faces out there. And of course, a lot of Blue Jays fans go down for the Mariners series every summer. So he'll have some Canadian fans rooting for him as well. Anyways, Taylor, good luck in Seattle. We're rooting for you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just not against us.
Just not against us. Let's talk batting order in 2023. You had some interesting ideas. So this kind of revolves around the idea of protecting Vladdy's bat, right? This is the 46 home runs in 2021?
Yeah.
48?
48?
48, I think. Yeah.
I think it's 48, right? I think
big differences.
46.
Big difference. No Marcus Semien last year.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get Marcus Semien back in this lineup for 2023?
Well, also a no Teoscar behind it, right? Like that ideal construction in 21 was Semien into Vladdy into Teo, these three mashers akin to Vladdy or to Batista, Edwin, and Donaldson, right? That core of absolute crushers that you have to go through every single time. You throw Bo into that equation and Springer into that equation. That was a hell of a chunk of a lineup to go through. But what my idea is if you look, strangely enough, at Danny Jansen, and especially just throw the numbers away, just look at his swing. Look at the guy. The effect that Marcus Semien had on this team is still there. Like the effect that he had on Bo was obvious. But to me, when I see Danny Jansen take swings at the plate, I see what was left over of Marcus Semien. He's trying to pull, he's trying to drive the ball. The swing is level through the zone. I swear if you did a pitching ninja overlay of Semien and Danny Jansen would look exactly the same. Their swings are identical. And then if you look at the slash lines last year, Danny Jansen put up pretty much nearly to the point across the board in batting average, on base, and slugging. Kind of a replica. It was only 70-some games, but a very, very similar everything to what Marcus Semien did in 2021. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay.
Sorry, before you do that, I just want to jump in and explain for anybody that doesn't know too. When we talked to Danny Jansen last year, he's been on the show twice now, but the first time we talked to him, he specifically said that part of fixing his swing was time spent talking with Marcus Semien. Because at the end of the 2021 season, that's where we started to see that increase in power. And it was a new approach at the plate. And it wasn't an approach that he said Marcus Semien put the bug in his ear about like, hey, stop trying to, don't worry about hitting the other field. He's like, you have a strength, just play into it. Just worry about pulling the ball. If you pull it hard enough, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter where they line up on you. So there you go.
I did not know that you had that conversation. To me, that's simply the eye test of seeing it, of literally just seeing this absolute, doppelganger of what Marcus Semien was doing. And to me, that production in front of Vladdy in 21 it put so much pressure on the pitcher to have to throw to Marcus Semien, because you can't put with Vladdy hitting the way he was that year, you couldn't put anybody on base. So Semien got so many fastballs to him. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, put that upon Danny. If not, Danny's healthy. Weirdly enough, he's not a plodding catcher. He's not your classic slow moving catcher. I bet you body size, movement, he's really quite similar in a lot of ways to Simeon. He doesn't run as good as Simeon, but he's not slow by any stretch of the imagination. Sliding him in the 2 spot to me, and then here's the other element to that is putting Springer in the 4 spot. To me, putting Springer in the 4 spot is trying
one of the best leadoff hitters in the game, and you're saying take him out of the leadoff.
I'm not for that at all. I never understood that concept one bit. He slugs. I don't care about his on base. I care about what kind of a hitter he is. He's up there. He's trying to hit the ball. He's trying to get into one every single time. Is that what you want out of a 1 guy, or is that what you want out of a 4 guy? He totally, to me, is a number 4 hitter in this lineup now. With Teo gone, I don't want the drop off after Vladdy to be Varsho's 770 OPS or Belt's whatever Belt gives us this year. I don't want that to be our 4 spot. To me, put Bo number 1. The on base, Bo's on base is what, 335. If Bo's hitting, if the balls come back this year and with the dimensions, Bo's on base is 350. Okay, he's going to hit 300. He's durable. That's a person I want leading off because I know he's going to be there 150 games out of the year. I want that consistency out of my leadoff spot. I don't want to be juggling around 1 because 1 plays 60% of the time. So put Springer in 4. I think that's 25 less at bats for Springer. That's natural load management by taking 25 at bats off of him for the season and putting him in at bats that have people on base, as opposed to last year, which my entire issue all season was Springer in the 1 spot and Zimmer, Tapia, and some horrible hitter in the 9 spot, and there being no carryover from 9 to 1. I never understood that. To me, just have a more standard number 1 hitter if you're going to have nobody in the 9 spot. So to continue my lineup tinkering, I want Witt in the 9 spot. I want a legitimate, Witt's got 40 double ability. He's got the ability to crack 40 doubles, good batting average. If Witt is anywhere near standard Witt Merrifield, him in the 9 spot carries the offense back up to 1, 2, 3, 4. If we're so 1, 2, 3, 4 heavy, which we have been the last 3 years, for 9 to be such a dead spot for us is just so it's counterintuitive. So
I agree with that for sure.
I don't want Kiermaier in the 9 spot. I don't want a bat this year that is such a drastic decrease when the lineup turns over, right? I want a better hitter in the 9 spot because 9 is directly connected to 1.
9 is the pseudo leadoff spot, right?
Yeah.
So I like that.
It's less, you're getting less at bats, but they are nearly as important, right? Especially you get on base as the last out and you're turning over that lineup and you're giving your chance, like as opposed to Zimmer was in there with a $120 batting average. What are you turning that? You're not turning the lineup over at all, with that Tapia, Jackie Bradley Jr. That's not like that was.
Yeah,
you're killing your top of your lineup because 9 is so detrimental.
Well, I mean, I like it. I don't know if we'll see it, but what is okay? Let's just for clarity's sake, 1 through 5. What's your batting order?
Bo, Danny, Vladdy, Springer.
Okay. And then who's 5?
Belt,
Chapman, Varsho. A lot of options. A lot of options for number 5.
That in that order, and then Kiermaier, Merrifield.
Okay. I like it. Okay, let's pivot from there then. New camera technology coming to F1, the world of motorsports. How can this help baseball? So I'll throw the clip up now. Okay, there was the clip for anybody that watched it. If you're listening on the audio side, it was just a clip of showing what this is going to look like. But F1 race cars are implementing helmet cams for the viewing experience, I suppose. So for viewers at home, they'll be able to see what the driver's seeing. Literally, it's right next to the eye. You're seeing the head bobbling. You're seeing the steering wheel. You're feeling the G-forces as they're going through their corners. Every driver for this season is going to have this helmet cam. I think it's great. I think it's great that they're going in that direction. I think it's great that sports is going in that direction.
Mhm.
And I want to see it in baseball. Last year, I think it was on a long toss, we were talking about the Brooklyn Nets, and they had a VR setup where it was like a multi-camera situation. You know, we're talking hundreds of cameras in the arena on the basketball court, and then through like computer math, I don't know how computers work, but
Computer
somehow
math.
they were able to do all the matrix stuff where you could figure out as a viewer, you could just stand anywhere on the court and it would like show you a
Vantage point.
a vantage point from there. So you could go stand at the
Wow.
3-point line, you could be in the corner, you could be right under the hoop, wherever you wanted to set yourself up, and the computers would figure out the math and project it into your VR experience. Very cool. So I thought that would be fun for baseball to just, I mean, as it would look so stupid to see Bo Bichette with a GoPro on the lid of his ball cap at shortstop. But man, would it ever be cool to somehow be able to stand at shortstop in VR and have a ground ball hit at me and then just see like how fast that's coming at you, what the reaction time really is, right? Because when you're watching it from the broadcast, it's really easy to, I mean, anybody who's been to a live game, right? You're down the foul line, whatever. Baseball is so much different in person than it is on the
Between the lines.
broadcast. And we've gotten used to it and we're comfortable with it, but there is a serious drop off in speed of the game when you're watching at home. And I would love to see whether it's some sort of multi-camera and a computer's doing math, or it is a F1 tiny little webcam and it's, you know, it's under the brim of the visor, or like whatever the case may be. But I love the idea of
now I see you, Mr. Phelps, the Mission Impossible glasses.
There you go.
You know,
get us some Google, Facebook glasses, whatever. But I love the idea of being able to, especially like from a viewer at home. And again, I've been on this for years now. I want every player mic'd up, and I want to be able to listen to that. We talked, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. We talked Buck Martinez a lot over the last 7 days and his ability or lack thereof, depending on your opinions of him, to call a game. Would I ever love to be able to just turn off the play-by-play and just listen to the game without any sound other than what's actually happening? I want to hear Bo heckling Aaron Judge when he's standing on second base. I want to hear the trash talk. I want to hear the crack of the bat. And for me, a lot of baseball is like I'm second screening it, right?
Yeah,
I'm working in my office. I'm doing something. Baseball's on in the background. So I'm most of the time not even listening to the play-by-play. It's on mute or whatever. But you give me some like birds chirping, some bats cracking, I'm all over it. So give me that
ambient baseball sound.
Ambient baseball sounds, and get everybody mic'd up. Like this again grows the game. Let's get these personalities out there, right?
Oh yeah.
But further to that, and specifically with the cameras and this new camera technology, oh, would it ever be cool to see, like I said, Matt Chapman's perspective at the hot corner and just see literally what he's seeing as a ball's coming, and he's got fractions of a second to make a reaction on that.
Well, you want to apply it to the catcher's helmet, right? And maybe one day they'll be able to apply it
for sure.
to
the catchers.
Yeah,
that
maybe
seems
they'll
like
be able
the
to
easiest first starting point.
Yeah, let's go there.
Let's start
go
with
there.
that. I'm with you.
Because if you that first of all, that's a brilliant idea. That's what you came up with. You texted me about this idea of applying it to the catchers, and I brought up Yasmani Grandal to you because Grandal had made a company that creates catchers helmets that have the spring loaded side
shock absorption.
Yeah.
Right?
to kind of cut down on concussions for catchers, which really brilliant idea, right? To like absorb that blow
Anything
that
that's
comes
fouled
from,
off and
yeah,
whatever,
exactly, right?
Totally.
So when you brought that up, I was like, I wonder if a company like that would be able to make a prototype, right? Because sitting down, they've done catcher's perspective before. It's always been something cumbersome, though, that no catcher has wanted to adopt and put onto himself and apply. But if you can make a catcher's helmet with a built-in camera that is so you don't even notice it, you have to be told that the camera's in there. You're like, what do you think about this helmet? Oh, I love it. It's great. It's great. Oh, and there's also a camera in there. You know, I think if you were to give catchers that perspective and the ability, the thing that baseball advocates, when we sit down and we're told that, you know, baseball's boring, you know, why do you watch baseball, right? The difficulty of the game isn't on display from the center field camera looking at the hitter and the pitcher. Like we don't see from that view the ball out of the hand, how long it's in the air, the snap of the glove, the track of the slider across the plate. Like to literally have a camera that shows the difficulty of the sport, which we don't have, right? Which we need to focus on, because hitting is so incredibly hard. And to just have that vantage point to see every unique pitch, to me, becomes that it becomes a way to show you Darvish and his 10 different pitches, or this, you know, the specifics of a Ryan Helsley, like 103-mile-an-hour fastball, or you know, just all of the intricacies that you get from that specific angle. I love it.
Here's a slightly different angle. If catchers are like, no, I just got to focus on baseball, I don't want anything that's going to mess with that, put it on the chin of the umpire. Sure. In that case, basically the same angle. I know we're not supposed to talk about Trevor Bauer. Voldemort shall not be named. On his YouTube channel during his suspension, had a great video that did not get enough love, and probably because of who he is. But the premise of this video is, how hard is it to actually call strikes as a major league umpire? Yeah. Right? And then the video is literally they just have a GoPro attached to the face mask of the bat catcher, right? And then they've got their buddies basically standing back there calling balls and strikes as they're throwing 98 with spin, and the catcher's trying to frame it. And like, just like the actual ability of like a guy who can frame a pitch well, and like the impact on the viewer. Like I just found that so
illusion, right?
It was so informative for me. Like the respect that I have for an umpire went up. Like it's so easy to like crap on them and be like, well, they're professionals and they should be,
and the peanut gallery accurate. Doing their umpiring was all over the place, right? They were completely inaccurate. They were pulled all over the place by this. Yeah.
But once you actually see it for yourself, and I'll throw this video in the show notes. So anybody that's interested in checking it out, click on it. 10-minute video, and just yourself play along at home and try and guess balls and strikes as they're coming in from that perspective. It's so much harder than it looks. And again, I think that goes to the idea of like this viewing perspective and the appreciation from home to be like, yeah, give me the behind the plate view. And I want to see essentially what the batter's looking at, right? Like as this curveballs coming in and you're trying to guess, because that's one thing that we can't really appreciate right now at home is off-speed pitches, breaking balls, velocity pitches, pitch location, even, right? We're not able to really accurately guess or get the. We can't put ourselves in the mind of the hitter when we're just watching it from behind the pitcher and going, did that look like a strike? But when you're seeing it come at you and you're trying to decide and you go, holy, that was freaking fast. I think that would be really an enjoyable experience.
Well, Pitch Ninja on like when you see the overlay from the center field angle, it feels like we get so much when we see that little blur on the ball to see how it tracks and two different pitches coming out. But imagine you doing it from the catcher's perspective, right? And the overlay then has the pitch velocity, and you see the difference of the glove snap on the changeup to the fastball, the break of the slider, how slider looks fastball for 52 feet, and then at the end, it's got you start to understand the concept of late movement.
Yeah.
You understand fastballs that have run or ride, that those higher spin rate fastballs and what those look like. It would just be a completely different perspective. And like you said, the ability for the fan to sit and go, holy crap, this game is, how do they ever touch that ball? How do they ever make contact?
I mean, it would be an entirely new perspective, but also it would be so familiar to anyone who plays video games, because anybody who plays
That's so
MLB
true.
The Show, shout out to Jazz Chisholm, cover athlete for MLB The Show this year. But like, that is the angle everybody bats with, right? So like,
Yeah.
there would be a
Strike
whole
strike zone one.
so maybe old people would be like, that's not for me. Give me the classic view. And that's fine. But anybody who's played a baseball video game even once would be familiar with that view and would be like, oh, this is great. I can't imagine someone who, again, looking forward to like the future and the young generations coming up, right? The people who are joining adulthood now and who have spent the last 15 years playing video games, because that's all kids do these days, right? To have the broadcast experience of a Blue Jays game match closer to what they spend 8 hours in their basement seeing when they play a video game, I think that would be a huge step in the right direction as far as like engagement and getting younger people interested in baseball. So
I agree. It seems just like a natural progression at this point.
it makes too much sense. Might be still a couple years off, but I'd sure like to see it. I'd like to see baseball take some bold risks, other than a bold risk just being, yeah, we're going to try Apple. Apple's going to give us percentages on every pitch. Let's be a little more aggressive with our outside the box thinking. All right, speaking of outside the box thinking, let's turn our sights to the home run derby. You had some ideas on the home run derby, how to fix this, how to tweak it, how to improve it.
Well,
so
there's
before we
so
get to
many
yours,
ideas out there.
I want to just, for anybody that hasn't seen any of our recent videos over the last week, the general idea is this. A guy like Vladdy should be in the home run derby. I 100% understand why he wouldn't be, but he also absolutely should be. So should Mike Trout. So should Aaron Judge. All the best stars in baseball should be in the home run derby. I grew up in an age where I got to watch Vince Carter at the slam dunk competition. I've never seen LeBron James. Maybe he has. I'm also not a big basketball fan, so for all I know, he did one early in his career. But we need the big stars on the stage when we're doing the showcase of the sport, right?
Yeah,
so
I agree with that.
So how else can we fix this?
So I feel like the real issue, if you want the stars on the field, it's not the home run derby itself, it's how many swings they take. It's you as a general manager sitting there and watching Vlad hit 91 and gassing himself on home run swings. Like it just being gassed, and you're worried. You're like, is that muscle memory going to affect him? Like all the common thoughts that we've thought for the last 15 years on how does the home run derby kill you in the second half, right? So if you want everybody there, just make it one round. Just make it one round and have a lot more. Just have a lot more guys. Just bring in 20 guys, have them all go up for 5 minutes, and whoever puts up the best single round wins. Just do that. And then it's not going 3 rounds, gassing yourself, seeing that like you put up 35 this round, but then you were 22 because you were, sucking wind so much. And that's what they're worried about. They're worried about them losing their mechanics when they get tired, something happening when they're getting tired, and they're still that's what they're worried about. So if you're going to make it 5 minutes, just put 20 guys in it, give them one round. And that's enough time to me. The fact that it used to be, it used to be outs, it used to be this, the fact that it's 5 minutes, and we're not in the era back when it was like you had 10 outs and you put up 10 and you won. Now it's just like, now it's rapid fire swing. 50 times in 5 minutes and try to hit 35. It's completely different. It's this 5-minute athletic exertion at max rate. Vladdy wants the ball, the next ball, when the home run ball's already in the air, right? If you go back and watch it, he's like, give it to me. Which is against the rules, but that's the rate that they want it at, is just keep feeding them in, right? So if you're going to keep that concept of a 5-minute, 4-minute round of hitting baseballs, just do one round and have a hell of a lot more guys. And then I think they'll be more akin to seeing Judge, Stanton, the guys that we want to see taking hacks, because they just got to go up there one time. I think they have that in them.
I do prefer timed rounds versus pitch count. From an entertainment standpoint, that is good. I don't know if I just like the idea of high score wins. I would want at least a finals.
Okay.
Like, give me
top
you
two,
can whittle it down, but yeah, let's at least have the top 2 guys come back and then go for another 3 minutes or something. 20 guys. Any chance you could push that to 30 and just say every team is submitting a guy?
Yeah.
And
you can probably drop the round length if you're going to
3 minutes, 30 teams. That's 90 minutes of swings plus a finals. Although maybe that's long. Maybe you do need to go to 2 minutes. But again, I don't know, some tinkering. I like the idea though of expanding the field and doing it that way, because there's a lot of good sluggers out there. And even when I was first coming up with this idea of like, well, it sucks if Vladdy's not there. We need Vladdy. But then I was looking at the guys who were in, and I wasn't looking at any name on the list going, this guy's a bum. What's he doing here?
Yeah.
You still got Pete Alonso. You still got Juan Soto. You still, like J-Rod was electric. Albert Pujols. Like,
it was kind of beautiful, actually.
Like, it was a great lineup. It was a great lineup. So I felt weird even saying that, other than like as a Jays fan and being like, I want my guy there.
And I still would love, like, Stanton and Judge, those 2 guys, they bring that Vladdy 500-foot potential, right? That ultimate crack of the bat. Like, you're seeing, like they'll put Bregman up there and he'll wall scrape a few, and you're like, okay, that's not really the type of home run hitter that we want. And then guys like Vladdy, Alonso, Stanton, Judge, they hit the ball just differently, right?
Yeah.
Ohtani, like, thank God Ohtani was willing to do it as well.
Right. That's another name I forgot about, but absolutely. It was a great lineup for the home run derby last
Matt
year.
Olson.
So yeah, it was really good. But again, the more I think about it, the more I think 30 guys in the home run derby, whatever we got to get the round, even if it's 2 minutes.
And just be funny that, like, guy out of Kansas City who's got 8 comes and wins it. That weird underdog.
Whatever. Yeah, I love it. No, it's all good. Okay, let's end with this then. Dual players. 8 dual players, Joel. Yes. Explain it to me. Explain this theory to me. Typical, we've heard for decades, the idea of a 5-tool guy. He's a 5-tool guy, right? The best compliment any ball player can have, right? He's a 5-tool guy. What are the 5 tools for anybody who maybe is new to baseball, maybe hasn't heard the term before? Lay it down for me for a starting point. What are the 5 tools when we're referring to a 5-tool guy?
It's your ability to hit for average, your ability to hit for power, your ability to run, your ability to field, and your ability to throw.
Okay.
Those 5 are pretty much the standard 5-tool concept. You look at guys like Acuna, A-Rod, Griffey, Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays. These are guys who embodied the 5-tool concept. There's no weakness to their game.
Mike Trout, 5-tool guy?
Yes, absolute 5-tool guy. He was stealing 45, 50 bases at the beginning there, right?
Like, he still could. I think that's injury prevention. That is the front office going, hey, smarten up. We can't have you jamming your thumb and missing games for 1 stolen base.
They put the brakes on Griffey the same way in Seattle. They're like, you're too valuable here for us to lose you here. So they put the brakes on those types of incredible elite bats. But yeah, definitely Trout's a 5-tool guy. Ohtani is like a 9-tool guy without even this weird concept that I'm going to throw at you. But the idea of 8 tools nowadays in contemporary baseball is, first of all, you guys, you have a great saying yourself about durability. What was it again? What you have
the best ability is availability.
Yes, I love it. That's
I didn't
exactly
coin that phrase. I don't know where I heard it, but I do love it.
I'm going to say that I heard it from you, and you're the originator of that. To me, I couldn't agree more, right? And so look at the 6th tool being your ability to play the game.
Because then you're looking at a guy like Byron Buxton, right?
Yes.
You're going, this is a elite talent, but he's only on the field 70 to 90 games a year.
Perfect example. Byron is a 5-tool guy, right? Everything's firing. He can hit for average, power, run, field throw. He's got it all, but you're only playing 58%, 62% of the time. That means 38% of the time you're your backup. You're a 0-tool player.
Now you got Jackie Bradley filling in for you.
When Bradley Zimmer is filling in for George Springer, his 4 tools become 1.5 tools, 1 tool, right? It's right. So the idea that durability to me is absolutely should be one of these tools. And it's the one tool that has the effect upon everything else. If you don't have the tool of durability, then you don't hit for power. You don't do any of those things.
Can't hit for power at the rehab facility in Dunedin.
Exactly. Right. So it's not like the 5 original tools are mutually exclusive, right? You can lose one and still hold the others, right? Like I lost my power, but I still can defend and hit for average. Like they're mutually exclusive, but not defense or your durability. Your durability has a direct cause on every one of those other tools. So to me, like I say, I'm like, oh, Bo's got an extra tool that we never give him credit for because he played back-to-back seasons, 159 games at shortstop, which is a hard position to get through when it comes to durability, right? So the other 2 are, to me, I feel like it's weird, but age and your / potential is an aspect that you need to look at a ball player. There is a natural decline that kicks in about 31, 32. So if you're looking at a player who is a 5-tool player, but he's 36, the potential for a career year, the potential for like him being at his athletic peak, his durability peak, all those things go away. When you're between 20 and 28, you have literally any year you could blow up and have a career year. You have that added potential of what could be, right? Bo is, once again, let's go Bo. He's 24 years old. His peak will probably be 29, 28, 29. He's got a little bit more maturity. He knows the game. He knows the pitchers. He knows how they're facing him. He's still athletically at his peak. That's, 5 years from now. So another tool to him is that he is on the upward incline. He's got potential for the next 5 seasons to do better based on just age.
So you're saying we should value guys who are on the upswing of their career trajectory as opposed to guys who are approaching the top of the hill or heading down.
So when you get to the back end, there's the potential for the injury season, the bat speed to decline, your legs to go. When you're on the other side of 31, 32, what's going to hit you is a sudden inability to play the game. Whereas 20 to 30, you're hit with a sudden ability to play the game unless you're Cody Bellinger. So for the most part, you're seeing an upward trajectory in your career. If you're that age, you're the age of 20, 21, 22, the expectations increase till you're about 30, 31. Then the athleticism starts to go and you go on the decline. So when you're looking at players, especially free agency, that's an aspect to look at is, do they have 3 years of prime? Their age is a completely a factor that you can include into the equation, right?
I've caught you. Joel. You've talked yourself into a trap on Teoscar Hernandez and Dalton Varsho because these are tools, Joel.
Yes.
We're looking at Teoscar, who's going to be 31 this year. That's a tool. Mm-hmm. He's on the downside. Dalton Varsho, 26. He's right in his prime.
Cool. Let's do it on this way. Teo can hit. Teo can hit for power. Teo can run. Teo has a 86th percentile arm. That's 4 tools. Dalton Varsho can catch the ball.
He can hit for power. He just put up 27.
His expected slug was 380.
Okay, well, what was his actual slug that actually happened?
Like 410.
All right, well, he's on the way up, though. He's on the way up.
Yes, you got me there. But Teo already has 4 tools, right?
Okay, hold on.
This makes me seem like I'm bad on Varsho.
No. I know you're not. I know you're not down on Varsho, but the whole premise that the age as a tool and that guys start to lose tools.
Yes,
so the premise that yes, as of up to the last time we saw Teoscar Hernandez, he still had 4 tools.
Yes.
Am I confident that he's going to have 4 tools this year? I mean, probably, but every single year for the next 4 years, I'm going to feel less and less comfortable with that idea.
True. Yes.
And with Dalton Varsho, does he currently only have, what are we saying, 1 tool?
No, that's not true.
I know that's a shot.
Okay.
Okay. Right. But am I confident that he's going to have 4 tools this year? No. But I do feel like every year for the next 4 years.
And he's durable.
He is heading towards adding more tools and durable too. So
yes, those are absolute factors to consider, right? So you've got me. Let's say you've got me there.
I got you there. Look at us. Look at us. We're arguing and we're coming to middle grounds. Look at this civil discourse. I love it.
Exactly.
Okay, I see your 8 tool player.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to counter with a 7 tool player.
Mm-hmm.
I love durability as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
That's number 6.
Yes.
7. I'm gonna discount your potential slash line as a tool.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like looking at potentials as a measurement of. I don't know, whatever. It's a little bit speculative.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So I'm gonna take that out. And I'm going to take age out because people do age out at a different thing. And I think that that's just kind of a separate thing. But I will add a 7th. And maybe this turns your 8 tool player into a 9 tool player. Contract as the 7th tool. Well,
can you see it?
None of us can see that. But we can kind of see it. Okay. You've got it in your notes. Yeah.
People on the radio can't see that, but we're on the same page, right?
Okay, I love it because again, absolutely, we talked about it all off season long. You don't just trade players; you trade contracts.
That's right.
And that's where the value of like getting Eric Swanson in return for Teoscar is like, hey, we're jettisoning. We've jettisoned. I don't know. We've jettisoned the Teoscar in his walk deal or in his walk year, and we're getting a lot of control back in Eric Swanson, right? And that's correct. Same thing with Dalton Varsho, right? It sucked to watch Gabriel Moreno go. A lot of years of control left in him, but that was one of the extra added values of Dalton Varsho. A lot of team control, right? Yes. As opposed to Lourdes Gurriel, who also in a walk year, right? So I like the idea of adding. It's weird to say that's a tool. So maybe it's kind of doesn't quite fit the term, but I think that when we're talking about just measuring the like value or what a guy's contributing to your team, I think contract is
it really
not to be overlooked.
It's such a sport of money. This is like with everything salary cap the way it is in other sports. In baseball, the contracts are just absurd, and the value that you bring to the cost of your team, like you have to consider that when you're not the Yankees. The other teams out there across the league have to sit there and go, okay, this guy, he might not be ideal, but for his price point, he's more than what we could have asked for that. And so we take a hit here, but his ability to play the game at a lesser level but be so cost effective allows us to get a starting pitcher. Right. Yeah. And it's the way that you can make moves based on that cap maneuverability that a player who gives you really good numbers, but hell, he cost me $7 million less a year. And that to me is two more players or another legitimate player who can move the needle in other places. So yeah, I totally agree with you that contract, especially like roster sizes and how GMs have to move these teams around now, with all the new things being applied to the game, like contract, man. Absolutely.
So let's put that towards measuring or ranking shortstops right now in 2023. Is Bo Bichette the best shortstop in baseball when we're looking at those tools?
When you're adding durability and
contract
and money, like pound per
pound, what you're getting for 159
best baseball player
for the dollars.
Best shortstop in baseball, 100%.
All right, there you go.
Absolutely. That's what this argument was all about.
That's where we're going. We got there.
Shortstop in baseball, yeah.
There you go. All right, Joel. Thanks for the great conversation today. I love that we can go back and forth on some of these things. Will you come back again?
You know it, baby.
All right.
I'm here when you need me.
Cheers to that.
Especially with Scott enjoying it in Namibia.
Yeah, African Scott. That's what we call him. No, don't start that. I need to clip that out. That's gonna get me canceled for one reason or another. Canadian Scott.
Safari Scott.
Cutting all this out.
Okay.
All right.
And we're back.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your week, my friend. Everybody watching at home, enjoy your week, and we'll see you Friday. Go Jays, go. Cheers.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody.